What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we are going to be none other than going into my top 38th place in the recent Ultimate Cup. I know it's not top 16, it's not, scrapadanza, but you know what? I think people have catch the live stream yesterday, got to see how well I can play the deck. I only lost to just 2 Bloom Lords, and that was just because of bricks. I beat other Bloom Lords because my hands were actually decent enough to handle their matchup. So stuff like this can lead to being understanding that if you lose to the brick, you aren't expecting to play Mugen. So without further ado, let's talk about it and dive into the video, shall we? So, 38th place deck. Shall we go into it? First off, we are playing 4 Doraemon instead of, the usual Pagumon is an option, but Dory is because when you put a Digi-Evolution card underneath it, this allows you to draw a card. So since we have 2 very powerful targets in the deck, mainly Mugen, Machinedramon from BT11, and then having none other than, guess who? The Chaosdramon from EX3, being able to put sources underneath really helps the tempo and keeps the deck going. This draw ability really does help out, and I think this is very vital and useful. And paired to Pagumon, I'm not always bringing that stack up soon enough for it to justify me applying an early aggression. This deck wants to play the stack game. So we take advantage of that by using Doraemon. And I think 4 Digitama is enough. We'll never really get to using all 4 in a match, because by that time you either are losing or you've already are about to lose. Because if you had to hatch a 4th one, I really doubt it. I've only gone to 3, to be honest with you. So then we have none other than 3 Dorumon. So Dorumon isn't here for the on play. Yes, I sometimes had to hard play it just to give the right memory choke, and sometimes I regret it because even if I just waited a turn, I could have had the piece I needed, but it's really in here for its inheritable. The same thing with Dorumon. Dorumon gains you a memory if you put a Digi-Evolution source underneath that stack. So this gives us so much decent value, especially going forwards. When we get into BT12, we're going to use other pieces to gain us memory and draw value out of it early enough. So I think that's going to be vital, and I think that's going to be important. So 3 for now, because I had to tech in other stuff to pretty much compensate for the restriction of a mono black build. So we also played 2 Senorizamon. So this card actually is quite useful. It didn't really come up as much as I was hoping for, but in certain circumstances, it gained an extra security check, so we get to apply pressure early. But in certain plays, if I had the right memory, the idea was to hard play this when we had 3 memory and a Machinedramon out that was at 13, just so it can gain piercing, so we could just start applying pressure by taking out one of our opponent's Digimon and dealing that damage that we needed. So that's kind of why it was in here. The extra security was nice, but all in all, it came up for the extra security check in some of the matchups, but at other times it just didn't really matter. But that's just me. I feel like this could have been very useful, but there was one time where I swung in and I just promoted this from raising up to get that extra damage in, and that was against an all-force player. So stuff like that really does help out. And then we do play 2 Jazzamon. Yes, it didn't synergize with the deck quite well, but your turn, this effect, the on play, was never really useful. Well, your turn, if you had a Hina out, never used it. But the fact of that we could use Jazzamon, while this Digimon has an on play skill, gains 1000 DP. So being able to make our Machinedramon 13 hit magic numbers with Sanzorimon to be able to go into that. And then you had other numbers that just made it so that we can get in and trade with big boss Digimons, or make it so that all force couldn't swing comfortably because we hit magic numbers that they couldn't just equal out very easily. So stuff like that does come up in times. So I figured having the extra DP boost really could make us threatening. Then we did play the last set of rookies, Hagurumon. Hagurumon, I feel like after Nationals and talking with Ben himself, that going back and forth, he went down to 2. I came it down to 3. But when it came down to Nat's time, after Nat's, and for this event, I brought it down to 2 because he is right. This card isn't as valued needed anymore as it used to be. You know, hard dropping this and then drawing a bunch of cards is really nice, but at times, if you drew too much of this and you were putting it in raising, you didn't have really a decent inheritable line, so you were getting a vanilla on the stack. And at times, you don't want a vanilla in the stack. You want something of value in that stack. So I think playing it at 2 is never bad. So value there. And now let's get into the champions. We played 2 Jazzardmon. The on-play is just a vanilla. It's all turn effects if this Digimon has an on-play. Since our top end is all on-plays, gain that extra 1000 DP. Meaning applying pressure that way. So this made our Machinedramons 12, 13s, bigger bodies to deal with. And then, you know, stuff like that really does matter, especially in a tournament like this where most decks don't reach like 15k very easily. So without a lot of level 7s in the game, you can compensate for this. And I think that really did help out. And then we did play 4 Guardramon. Guardramon was just really decent because it was a blocker, but its inheritable, it was really much the main value. We toss the machine, draw a couple pieces. You know, stuff like that does add up pretty quickly, and we want to be able to draw pieces. That does help us keep us in the game and keep cycling through, and we don't mind tossing a 5, maybe a 6 on occasion, just to speed up the game into the state we want. So stuff like this really does matter. Then we do have 3 Metal Greymon. As me and Ben went back and forth during Nationals, before that, we both came to an understanding that 3 Metal Greymon is ideal. We could, in this event, I could have brought it down to 2, and I was debating that, but I felt like seeing Metal Greymon is still such a vital cog piece that, especially if we're facing any of the Black War Greymon decks or anything like that, we still want to be able to swing into our opponent. And even still, if let's say they put us to 4, we can de-digivolve their Digimon and just answer a lot of their threats. So stuff like that does come up. And being a 4-cost de-Digi-Evolution, pop a 3000 DP, this was more for against Bloomlord when it did come up, because now they lose that rookie, or they lose the ultimate and it went down to a champion that was really cheap in 3000 DP, and then we pop it. Now they lose that whole body, and which does help us in the end game. So that's why we played it at 3. Then we did play 2 Metal Mamamon. So this was more for Bloomlord matchups because we needed a way of killing off any of their, champion line. Some of them got to a point where they were a little harder to deal with, especially once they started getting wide. We could start shooting them down and knocking them around. Stuff like that does help out, and we want to be able to do that. But also, sometimes it's when Digivolving Effect came up, but when we get back into normal swing of things, this will come back down, and we shouldn't be playing this at more than 1. But I think this being able to pop any play cost 5 or less really did matter. Especially came up in the Dark Knightmon matchup. Applying that, deleting their Digimon constantly really is nasty. Then we had 2 Gigadramon. This was the rebooter. At times, we would basically Digivolve in raising, promote this up the following turn, swing with jamming, skill, Digivolve on top of it, and then it had reboot. So now we had our boss Digimon sitting on top, unable to be swung into in most instances. So we had some decent values that way. So I think that's really good there. And jamming first swing with Gardramon's inheritable stack guarantees we can keep this on board. And I think that's really good. We'll move this back down to 1 probably when we get into regionals time. Then we played the normal Metal Tyrannomon for, the inheritable. So when this Digimon wins a battle, basically, trash one of your opponent's security. As long as this Digimon survives, you know the drill here. Their Digimon has to die. But that's fine. Liking to trash their security is super important. And at times, trading that one body really did matter. So, stuff like that does add up. Then we did play 2 Megadramons. This was for Bloomlord and also All Force. Being able to swing in and pop the Rena, pop the 3-cost Tamer, pop the 3-cost Digimon, constantly applying pressure that way really made it hard for our opponent to play catch-up. And I think that's really vital here, is that we are playing a game where we want to pop Tamers and we want to get threats off the board. So 2 of this is really solid. And then we had 1 Volcanomon for the blocker and security +1. So this is vital. I think that was just, it came up when you needed it. Extra security damage is always good. Then we had the none other than BT2 Metal Greymon. It has reboot, but it also has, if this Digimon has reboot, security +1. So in certain instances, if they de-digivolved us into one of our rebooters that had a natural reboot, what could happen, or even better yet, if, we had Gigadramon underneath that gave the inheritable reboot, what we could do is have this gain an extra security when this Metal Greymon, and if we had another Gigadramon on top, this could constantly be swinging for 2 checks by itself, especially if our opponent had the way of de-digivolving but couldn't clear our field. Then we had Black Mecha Gaugamon. So this card has reboot inheritable, but if this Digimon has reboot, it gains plus 2000 DP. So this helped out if we didn't have a way of gaining jamming. We could apply pressure that way by making them bigger and swinging into it, dealing with our opponent's threats, removing them off the board. Stuff like that does matter and adds up pretty quickly. Then we had 1 Megadramon for blocker. Just a blocker inheritable. One of them, not terrible. It never really needed, I didn't need blocker when Analog Man exists. Just being able to redirect is sometimes good enough. And that's just where you want to be. Then you have Gigadramon. That is opponent's turn. When this opponent's turn, this Digimon gains plus 2000 DP. That's all you were using it for, that extra opponent's turn. It helped against the All Force matchups because they couldn't swing in comfortably. We hit magic numbers. Certain boss Digimon couldn't swing naturally into our Digimon. So stuff like that does add up. And then we are now into the Mega category. So we played 4 Chaosdramon. Chaosdramon is the name of the game of this deck. And being able to Digivolve for 1 on top of our Machinedramon is really good. It is another target for our good friend Attack of the Heavy Mobile Machine. Just being able to get 3 sources underneath it, swing in for game, really does add up pretty quickly. So stuff like this does help out. And being able to de-Digivolve your opponent's Digimon, not by 1, but by 3 sometimes, can lead to being a very powerful push turn. And then it triggers your Dories and your Doru's effects of drawing and gaining memory. Stuff like that does add up pretty quickly. So playing 4 of this really does matter. So then we did play 3 Machinedramon from BT11. It's very stock card. It's when Digivolving on play effect is always vital and useful in my opinion. We're never going to not want this in the deck. And to be honest with you, it comes down just by a little bit when we get into, BT12. But that's just when we get into Chaosdramon. So, X. But hey, this Machinedramon's really good because being able to, if they delete it somehow, you know what? Bye-bye the threat you were trying to do. Just very useful. I think this is pretty solid and I enjoy it a lot. And being able to get cards into your trash is such a vital thing, especially because it fuels Chaosdramon or your regular Machinedramon. So we play 3 regular Machinedramon, and yes, we have 1 Goldie Boy and then 2 alternate arts. And that's how we're going to have it for now. Goldie Boy will get taken out and just be 2 regular alternate arts when the time comes, because I'm not going to pick up a second Goldie Boy. But having 3 Machinedramon, really useful. You could Digivolve him in Raising, then bring him up. It's another target it'll play. And it's not bad. It's not a bad trade-off. But there's also times where, minusing DP, I was hoping for more yellow matchups. Anything like that really didn't matter. So stuff like this can come up. So Machinedramon, always good. Then we do have one Raggy Boy, Ragna Lordmon. So this came up against, I think, one of my Bloomlord players. Against Bloomlord, my second to last Bloomlord that I faced that day. I 2-0'd it just because I went not one Raggy Boy, but I double Raggy per game. So one game, Ragnalord, second game, Ragnalord win. Just being able to clear out 5 to 6 security, really good by himself. With the stacks you get, sometimes you have, Chaosdramon up to 8 pieces underneath. And then a second one just came up with 4. Then you would swing in, deal some damage, and then boom, you could eliminate by every 4. You're now popping security for free with Blitz and swinging for lethal for game. So as much as I wanted this as a tech of, it's not a bad trade-off. I think this was a really solid pick, and I think it was smart to play him at 1. Then we do have not 1, but 3 Analog Man, just because Analog Man is so good. And it helps you cycle, helps you get through things. That's kind of what we wanted it to do. And it's one of our redirectors, and the draw value is never terrible. Then we did have not 1, but 1, 2, 3 Attack of the Heavy Mobile Machines. So this basically let us do what we needed to do. And that is how we're going to go about it. Attack of the Heavy Mobile Machine, just going to let us win by just doing that. And as long as we had the memory for it, we were golden. And I think that was very vital, and that's how that was going. Giving Blitz and being able to, rush at the same time is what really this deck needs. And being able to swing in with Chaosdramon or Machinedramon for game really did come up most of the time. So stuff like that, really great value. And then 2, Black Mem Boost. Black Mem Boost Searcher, we need it just with the amount of cards we're playing. Just that extra memory. Yes, they'll choke you a little bit, but I think all in all, it was not a bad choice. What I could have probably went for was Kazu, because people weren't popping Tamers as much, and Kazu at least would help us cycle with our cyborgs and stuff like that. And that probably would have been a little bit better, just because people were sitting there playing, Minoki betas or stuff like that. After learning that, I think I might take out the Black Mem Boost and put in Kazu, just so that there's another way of gaining memory outside of the Black Mem Boost. And, Kazu promote up, gain a memory. Then when we swing, we gain a draw. Stuff like that starts adding up, and being able to have that extra 2 memory a turn does add up pretty quickly. So I think that is very vital. And I think that is going to be what I might do if we do another Ulti Cup that is restricted like this with Machinedramon. Stuff like this does start cranking in the back of the mind of how would we handle matchups like this. So I think Black Mem Boost probably might get taken out and put in Kazu. Normally I wouldn't say Kazu, but you know what? I think Kazu was a decent headway. So things we can take away from here. My score was that 6-1-2 to get 38th place. We were super close to the top 32, 6 off. But hey, you know what? It's fine. You know what? We played our best. We did our best. All the games were fantastic. Dark Knightmon, Bloomlord, Bloomlord. The 2 games I really hated was the live stream, which was round 3, and then the round 8 opponent. I just bricked so badly that I just could not come back. and that was a problem. I had to slam down a 7 just to even be vital into that game matchup, and then the other one was caught on the PPG live stream, which I will be discussing a video of that tournament probably tomorrow. So that'll be very interesting. And then we had Merva Loop. I think that was really good against Machinedramon. That was a fun game. Very much surprised him when he swung in with the Retaliator, and I had Analog Man, and he swung in trying for game, but I redirected it to the Machinedramon that dies and plays a Machinedramon, and he thought he was going to get to continue playing, and I was like, oh, no, 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 no. We're going to be bringing it back to my turn. So, because he didn't play Ghazi and not knowing the matchup itself was really vital, and being able to cycle that in was really important. You know, round 1 and round 7's Bloom Lord, definitely really fun matchups, back and forth a lot. Those matchups were neck and neck. They weren't like one-sided. I answered his stuff, he answered mine, kind of stuff. Really does come quickly. Then we had Black War Greymon X as one of our matchups, and then Double All Force after that. You know, stuff like that does start continuing adding up points, and we did there. And then final round was against Dark Knightmon. First game, we got it because we were just de-digivolving stuff and getting threats off board, and, you know, providing lethal. As long as we could get rid of the blocking, there was nothing else he could do. But I made sure everything was ready to produce lethal in a way that your opponent could not stop me. So stuff like that does add up pretty quickly. So I like that kind of matchup, and, you know, getting 38th place is not terrible. And I think all in all, we did quite well with bringing basically what is considered rogue at best. And, you know, Machinedramon is my bread and butter. I think after playing so much of it, I have a great understanding of the deck. I have great answers. Like, even local Machinedramon players get my list. They're like, okay, I get what you're doing here, and I see what you're trying to do. I have no objections to your list. I think you're doing this right. And stuff like that does make me feel like, you know, the Machinedramon community likes my list a little bit. So at least I can confidently say I'm not making bad calls. They're enjoying the picks I'm making, and they can understand why I'm doing it. So guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Got a good breakdown of the deck and understanding of Mugen himself. And you know what? I love the deck a lot, and to be honest with you, wouldn't change much in the world. But I feel like once we get to our Machinedramon, you know, Overlord Chaosdramon X, your opponent is in a world of hurt because of that card alone. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.